Look, this was really interesting. I spoke to this mother of three yesterday. She said that she got an alert on her phone from the ATO saying that a MyGov account had been set up in her name. She ignored it, thinking it was spam, as many of us would do. And then the very next day, she got a message from her Superfund, Sun Super, saying that $10,000 had been released under the early access to super scheme. And it was here where, it raised her attention. She checked her super account and lo and behold, $10,000 was gone. And that's when she reported it to authorities. So it just shows, Danica, this woman did not apply for a MyGov account. She did not apply for early access. And yet she had $10,000 stripped from her savings for her retirement.
It's obviously, this is extremely concerning, and we know that the AFP have now been called in to investigate any fraudulent activity. Do we know how many people have potentially been impacted by this across the country?
Well, look, the ATO have been very tight-lipped about this. Of course they are when the AFP are involved. It does not look good that this is happening. We think there's about 150 people impacted, and about $120,000 is gone. Now, the super funds have been telling me for weeks it's been a concern because it's been a race against the clock. We have people out there desperate for their cash. They want their cash quickly. We've had authorities saying that they should get their cash within 5 days of the ATO giving them the green light. But the problem with that is that we have loose checks and money is going into the wrong hands of the wrong people.
And I guess now, Sophie, with these further delays, more people who are desperate to access their super are probably not going to get it in time.
Well, that's right, Danica. They may have to wait a little longer. The ATO halted receiving applications on Friday, or processing them, should I say. They are still actually receiving applications, but there is going to be a delay. The super funds are on high alert. They have members ringing them, persistently asking where is their money. So there's a lot of pressure on them, but they have to be extremely careful because if the money gets into the wrong hands, like it did with this lady that I spoke to, it's incredibly hard to get it back. And no doubt the super fund will be the one who wears the loss.
And in your article today, you spoke to the Assistant Minister for Superannuation, Senator Jane Hume, and she said people should safeguard their personal information. Take us through that. What's been the advice?
So I did speak to Senator Hume, and the advice, Danica, is protect your information with your life. Your MyGov account is almost like a bank account. Protect that. Do not give your details to anyone. If you get an unsolicited text message, don't respond to it. You have to be very vigilant with your information. Scammers are out there. They see this giant honey pot of super as a pot of gold and they want to get their hands on it. And when millions of people are applying for super, there is definitely going to be, unfortunately, fraudsters who slip through the cracks.
Yeah, it's very disappointing to hear for sure. Now, let's move on, Sophie, because as we know, there's been a number of travel disruptions due to COVID-19. But what we're seeing more and more of is consumers being given credit notes instead of refunds for flights or any sort of activity. I can speak for myself. This happened to me. I apply for a refund and next minute in my email, I get a credit note for a flight. Well, I don't want the credit note. It seems to be more and more cases of this emerging.
Look, it's really disappointing for travellers out there. We have so many people impacted through no fault of their own. They cannot take trips that they planned. The cases just keep rolling in. I'm contacted consistently by people out there devastated that they've shelled out tens of thousands of dollars on a holiday they can no longer take. Now, I spoke to ACCC Chair Rod Sims this week, and he said to me, for people who have large sums of money owing, and we're talking, tens of thousands of dollars here, don't just sit there and accept a credit note from the airline or the travel company or whoever it may be. It may well be that you are entitled to a refund, but also you should consider, if you've exhausted all avenues and been forced to accept a credit, that you may have to engage lawyers to put the pressure on these companies to give your money back.
Oh, that's just extraordinary that, people might have to fork out money then to get a lawyer to tackle this. Another aspect of it, Sophie, is cancellation fees. We saw what happened to Flight Centre the other week. They were forced to backflip on their $300 fee. Webjet is still charging a cancellation fee. Is it the case that you have to grin and bear it if it's part of the website's conditions?
Look, Danica, I would like to say no to that. We had People Power win in the last week. People resented Flight Centre. They came out in droves. They were absolutely livid that Flight Centre was sticking to their terms and conditions and charging people $300 a head to get a refund on international travel. Now, this came to the attention of the ACCC. They worked with Flight Centre for several weeks on this, and eventually they buckled, they caved, and they got rid of that fee. Now, that is the power of the people who are fighting for their rights here. These fees are absolutely crazy, and it's now, come to light that when companies think that they can get away with this, they should think twice. Flight Centre's reputation has no doubt been damaged for good, and there'll be a lot of people who will never walk through their doors or ring them up for travel ever again. Yeah,
certainly the backlash from it has been massive. You see it on social media. What would be the advice now, Sophie, for any of our viewers who are watching, they're travellers in the same position, want a refund but have been given a credit note? What's the official advice out there?
Look, it's very complicated, unfortunately, Danica. ACCC Chair Rod Sims said it all comes down to the terms and conditions. Then it comes down to consumer law, even state law. So it's not just a clear cut, yes or no, you are entitled. So my advice is put pressure on these businesses to give you your money back. Do not just accept a credit note. I myself had flights that I got reimbursed, got a note today from Qantas saying my money's coming back to my account. But for people who have flights with Virgin, it's a different story. They're in voluntary administration, and it's going to be like getting blood out of a stone from that company now. And sadly, I think there'll be a lot of people who've booked with Virgin that will never get their money back.